The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. It's the first sort of like normal in-studio core regular production week in a long time because we've had guest hosts, we've had me broadcasting remotely. We have next week one travel day for me going to the twice-a-year conference in Las Vegas from which I'll be broadcasting. So enjoy it, I guess, if you like it. If you prefer the guest hosts or me remotely, then I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. It's a return to normalcy. We're back into the routine. And in some ways, we're more productive now that everyone's back here.
Are we?
Probably not.
Okay, good.
But in some ways.
Yeah. Okay, here's a request to our members. We are starting to put together some graphics for social media, which we're going to put out on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, which are going to be quotes from members about how much they love membership and love supporting the show. Okay, so what I'm asking you is, if you have something nice to say about being a member, why you're a member, why you are so thrilled to be a member, and whatever, you get the idea. It's got to be short, right? Like one sentence, basically, a pretty short sentence. Email me, david@davidpakman.com, and call it like member feedback or something like that. We will take those quotes with only your first name, or if you want it to be totally anonymous, it can, but what's a first name really going to tell anybody? So more personal that way. And we will turn it into like a graphic, an image, which at some point might be published to our social media platforms. And the idea of it being, of course, people will see, oh, wow, Joe, the member, says, I love supporting media that is valuable to me. Maybe I'll go ahead and get a membership myself.
It strikes me as the opposite of Hatriot Mail.
Exactly.
It's like Love Triot Mail.
Yes.
And maybe we can get the voiceover guy to read all of these comments that you're going to get from your email.
I don't think so. I don't think we're going to be doing that. He's busy enough, but we are going to be turning them into graphics for the internet. As I mentioned, that's what we're doing with them. Please write to me, david@davidpakman.com. Member feedback should be the subject. And just let me know. It's got to be short because it has to fit on a quote graphic. But we want to build up a library of these, which we can then use. Okay, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is potentially going to be sentenced to the rest of his life in prison over sexual assault charges. Today starts the 2-day sentencing hearing. It's in the Montgomery County Courthouse in Pennsylvania. He was found guilty of 3 counts of sexual assault against ex-basketball player Andrea Constant from 2004. He is going to now be sentenced at the age of 81, and based on his age and the severity of the crimes, he may get what is effectively a life sentence. It is, I don't know if stunning's the right word, but it is a real harsh departure from his sort of role as America's dad, some people called him, and a mentor to youth and blah, blah, blah. It's just a very unfortunate but deserved, right? I'm not excusing what he did. He did horrible things and he deserves to be punished. And if it's late, well, it's better late than never. Really a big turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, he was such an important and influential figure for the black community at the time. I mean, I think the Cosby Show portrayed America's first like on-TV family that was black and middle upper class.
Yes.
And it helped a lot of people, you know, relate to race issues. And it was good for a lot of people, I think. And it's such an unfortunate fall from grace. But he had been doing that throughout that entire time and before then. And it's a horrible thing. Saying
it's unfortunate is not a defense of what he did or exculpating what he did at all, right? I've heard some commentary online where people say, why are you calling it unfortunate? The guy is a serial assaulter of women. There's nothing unfortunate. No, it's unfortunate that someone who had done good things is ending up actually not being someone that we can say, look at this great person, because he did some of these good things publicly, but he was doing absolutely horrible, vile, atrocious things in private. So when we say unfortunate, we don't mean how sad, because he didn't really do anything wrong and he was railroaded. No, he did horrible things, and it's a disappointment that someone who could have had a legacy as someone positive did such terrible and horrible things, and now we'll see how long he's going to spend in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see him spend the rest of his life in prison.
You would.
In part because he got away with it for so long. Like, this would be a lot different, I think, if he was convicted at the age of 40, served 40 years in prison, and now in his advanced age and failing health, they decided to let him go on house arrest.
I agree.
That would be an entirely different story. He barely has faced any punishment thus far for this. So I think that's the only thing you can do right now.
I guess you could say the punishment he's faced so far has been sort of like in the public eye, in the court of public opinion or something like that. But does that really affect a guy who has made the money he's going to make? He doesn't need more jobs and whatever. I don't even know that it really is anything.
That's only even a consequence that people in the public eye can face. Because if you're Joe Schmo committing these acts, getting embarrassed publicly isn't going to do the same thing.
Let's talk about Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster is a much derided institution that sells tickets to all sorts of different events, concerts, sporting events, other things, I guess. I don't know.
What else do people go to?
Conferences, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Ticketmaster. People generally hate Ticketmaster because they charge these outrageous fees. They advertise that a ticket is $25, but then you've got to pay a $7 convenience fee and a $6 delivery fee and a $12, I don't know, some other kind of fee. And before you know it, the ticket costs significantly more than what is advertised. They now are facing significant legal scrutiny, including a class action lawsuit, because they have been caught, allegedly, so the suit says, recruiting scalpers or ticket resellers, as they may be known less controversially. Is scalper considered offensive? Like, does it relate to
I don't think so.
Native American scalping?
Yeah, does it have to do with chopping people's heads off?
I don't know.
think so.
I hope it's not offensive, but it's a term that has been used for a very long time. Ticket resellers. They have been recruiting these ticket resellers to resell their tickets through its Trade Desk professional reseller program. And that's software that is promoted by Ticketmaster employees at a ticket reseller convention in July. And what it allows the resellers to do is manage really big inventories of seats that they've bought from Ticketmaster. And then the reseller resells it with a commission to Ticketmaster again. So Ticketmaster has basically figured out this genius thing where, as it is, Ticketmaster charges outrageous fees on their tickets. In addition to that, a common complaint from regular old people who want to get tickets to something is, I waited. The second the tickets went on sale, I went online and there was like nothing left because the resellers have already bought all the tickets. And now my only choice is to buy the tickets from a reseller on Ticketmaster who charges more than face value, and I still pay those crazy Ticketmaster convenience fees. So who wins the most bigly here? Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
They sell the tickets to the resellers and charge their fees. The resellers relist the tickets to now sold out events on Ticketmaster, and Ticketmaster again charges fees on tickets that they've already sold. And they are now facing a class action lawsuit.
Okay, so I'm unclear as to how Ticketmaster works. Do they have a private agreement with whoever's putting on like a concert or a sporting event so that if you want to purchase a ticket, you have to go through Ticketmaster?
They're the exclusive sales agent for events.
So then it's not like StubHub or Ace Ticket where they buy up a whole bunch of available seats and then resell them. This is the only way you can go about purchasing the ticket.
On the primary market.
Right.
So after a reseller buys a bunch of tickets, they then can choose to resell them on Ticketmaster again or on Ace Ticket or StubHub or whatever. And I don't know the rules. They might even be able to list them on multiple sites.
So then the people producing these games, events, concerts, conferences, they must be outraged by this too because Ticketmaster's double dipping and they're not sharing in the profits.
The Ticketmaster has such market power that it is true that there are, for example, there are musicians and bands that like to say, we keep our ticket prices down. Even though we're huge and we could charge a lot, we keep our average ticket, it's still $35 or $38 or whatever. The problem is that when you go through convenience fees and Ticketmaster fees and printing fees and all this different stuff, those $35 tickets might end up still being $55 or $60 once you buy them on Ticketmaster. And then if immediately the resellers buy them all up and resell them for more, even though the band might still say, our average ticket price is $35, the average net price to the concert goer might end up being double that. But why do the bands tolerate it? Because being listed on Ticketmaster sells tickets for you. Ticketmaster promoting your shows sells tickets for you. So you, in the end up kind of looking away.
Oh, man. I hate
horrible.
all this stuff.
It's horrible. It's
no
absolutely horrible. It's disgusting, and I hope Ticketmaster gets screwed here. They've got a lot of money, and I'm sure that they're going to survive and be fine. But something needs to force them to change their practices, no doubt about it. Hey, briefly, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's kind of just it's kind of a dud. It's a dud story. It's a story about a dud, is what I mean. Michael Moore has another one of these anti-Republican documentaries. This one's called Fahrenheit 11/9, and it just did not do well. It barely registered at the box office. First weekend, it made $3.1 million, which might sound like a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. And compared to his movies like Fahrenheit 9/11 and Bowling for Columbine, it just isn't doing that well. It's not totally clear why. I think part of it is that there hasn't been that much promotion of it. Like I saw a few ads about it on YouTube, pre-roll, but I was barely even aware of this until 2 weeks ago, although admittedly I was traveling. What do you think is causing the decline in the ticket sales?
I think it's just that people can only take so much Trump content, and when you get it from the news 24 hours a day, you don't want to also go to the movies and see it too. You want to get away from that stuff, escape it in a sense.
But wasn't that going on when it was Fahrenheit 9/11? It was a lot of Bush 9/11 stuff in the news all the time. I don't know. I guess it wasn't to the same degree.
It was a new perspective, though. I don't know if the 9/11 conspiracy theories had really shaped up yet, and this wasn't necessarily the loose change type stuff where the Bush administration organized all of it, but it more had to do with their negligence, like getting that memo that Osama bin Laden was intent on striking within the U.S. and just ignoring it.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of a hot button thing at the time, and it drew a lot of interest to it.
I kind of share the general lack of interest about like it didn't even occur to me to go see it. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. Maybe you can already like stream it somewhere for a fee. I'm just not really interested. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it.
Even like the Trump books, like Fire and Fury. It was a big story when it came out because of the allegations in it, but I wasn't too interested in reading it. The Bob Woodward book, the same thing. Like, I just
more
can only
interested.
take so much Trump stuff.
I'm more interested in the Woodward book than I was in Fire and Fury. Although it's like I'm pretty picky with books because you only have a limited amount of time. I want to make sure I'm reading, stuff that will be valuable to me kind of on a longer term. So I'm reading a lot of economics and history and science. And when I was traveling, I finished all the books I brought with me. And I went to like one of the bigger English language bookstores in Paris called W.B. Smith. And I actually thought maybe I'd buy the Woodward book. They ended up, I think, being sold out of it. And then I realized I could start reading it right now on Kindle or, buy a digital copy. And then I said, I'm not going to do it. I have other stuff that I prefer to read.
You can get the headlines from articles, and I feel like there's a lot of fluff in those books. Like they have to fill the 200 pages somehow.
Sure.
And they only have so many juicy details.
But Woodward is good. I mean, he's a good investigative journalist. But still, I still am agreeing with you that it didn't pull me in enough to make me say, this is what I'm going to devote whatever number of hours it would be to read the book. I'm not doing it, and I don't think I'm going to see Fahrenheit 11/9 either.
I think Michael Moore is past his prime, past his heyday. Are those days over?
He's still good on shows. Like he was on Bill Maher Friday with our friend Tom Hartman, interestingly enough, and I still find him interesting on shows, but for whatever reason, I'm just not at the point where I say, I'm going to go to the movie theater and buy a ticket and watch the documentary.
I do like the name of the documentary, though, because you originally had that dystopian book, Fahrenheit 451, about the firefighter who set books on fire instead of putting out fires.
Guy Sontag, right?
And and then you had the second layer, which was Fahrenheit 9/11, and now you have a third layer, Fahrenheit 11/9.
And was 11/9 the day of the Women's March?
No, I think it was the day that Trump got elected officially. So the election day was November 8th, 2016.
Oh, okay.
But the announcement wasn't until like 2 or 3 in the morning. So officially he became president-elect on 11/9. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well,
I like it.
The more you know. If you're interested in the Moore film, if you've seen it, send me your thoughts. I would want to hear whether you thought it was good, not good, worth your time. David@davidpakman.com. We are here all week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.